Welcome to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. This podcast features powerful hypnosis, so do not listen while driving or operating machinery. This recording is not suitable for those with epilepsy or severe mental health issues. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and in this episode of The Hypnotist, you're going to be listening to a hypnosis session designed for someone with very high levels of anxiety. And they were told by a doctor, a counselor, that their anxiety was something they just had to learn to live with. And they used almost an empowering metaphor, but it wasn't empowering because it had nothing really to change the metaphor. And metaphors can be disempowering or empowering. So this particular person was told that their low level of anxiety, or their resting level of anxiety, was like a boiling pot about to overflow, so that it wouldn't take too much for it to overflow. Now that's quite a powerful visual metaphor, and it can feel real for an individual, particularly those people that are quite vigilant and tend to overthink about things. But what the counselors, the doctors, didn't say is how to lower this kind of boiling pot to make it less likely to overflow. So I like, where possible, to harness pre-existing metaphors, but to make them empowering. So that's what you're going to hear in this session. I also like to link to places or memories that are empowering or resourceful in some way. So this client had a grandmother that was always quite caring and reassuring, and also happened to have a stove. So that gave me one part of a nested loop to link into the metaphor of an analog form of anxiety, so that the overflowing pot could be lowered to make it a simmering pot. And this will make more sense when you hear the actual hypnosis session, but generally it's useful to have a metaphor that can be empowering by doing something, by taking action. So here there are three key things that enabled them to do the equivalent of turning down the heat on a pot that's about to overflow. The first is breathing. Typically, when people have high levels of anxiety, they tend to breathe rapidly from the chest, and actually slow, long breaths from the diaphragm can radically reduce anxiety quickly. The second thing that can make a big difference is physiology. Typically, those people experiencing anxiety tend to have tense muscles rather than relaxed muscles, and they tend to have a closed posture rather than an open posture. So when you change the posture and you relax the muscles, again, anxiety tends to go down. Another thing that tends to be common with people experiencing anxiety is rapid inner dialogue of considering all the possible worst outcomes and the implications of those. So the inner dialogue is like a machine gun, where there is no opportunity to either dispel the thoughts or contradict them or even answer the questions. It's just, it leads to a place of overwhelm. And overwhelm, metaphorically speaking, is when the pot boils over. So slowing that inner dialogue down, which again, you can do when you're consciously aiming to do it, especially if it's unconsciously being rapid, you can then slow it down. So this gives the client that I was working with three very easy to remember tools to stop the pot of anxiety from boiling over: breath work, relaxation, and slowing down inner dialogue. And you're going to hear all of these things in this hypnosis session. And I think this echoes a lot of how people actually experience anxiety. There's a feeling of inevitability that when anxiety stops, it's just going to take its course. And that's not helpful, because it can lead to kind of unhelpful places. But if when it starts, there's a belief that it's temporary and that there's tools to make it last for even less time, then that also becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you feel that you are struggling with anxiety and would like perhaps a bespoke session built to your individual circumstances, or maybe I can harness an unconscious metaphor that is there for you and make that empowering so you can actually do something about your anxiety. Click the link in the show notes or visit adamcox.co.uk and you can book a free 30-minute consultation call to explore working with me. For now, though, find a quiet, comfortable place where you won't be disturbed, relax, and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in. As you breathe in a resourceful feeling of calm and relaxation. And as you exhale, notice your eyelids feeling relaxed and heavy. With your eyes closed, focus on the sound of my voice. Breathing in that resourceful feeling of relaxation and exhaling any tension. In fact, I'd like you to scan your body for any clues, echoes, signs of any stress or tension. And that might be a tightness around the jaw, or maybe certain tiny muscles in your forehead holding an expression like concern or surprise. But here in this moment, it isn't needed. So just loosen those muscles in your forehead and jaw, and relax those tiny muscles connecting with swallowing, so you can breathe in and breathe out. That's it. Notice any tension in your shoulders, neck, or perhaps even in your fingers and toes. And just imagine breathing in a color that represents tranquility. And some people would describe tranquility as a relaxed sensation of calm, but in an environment where you feel so safe. And some people intuitively think of a pale blue when they think of tranquility. So imagine breathing in that pale blue color, feeling a lovely sensation of pure tranquility. And as you exhale, just imagine colors that represent stress, tension, or anxiety are leaving your body in your outward breath. Breathing in that pale blue, exhaling perhaps dark colors, grays and blacks. Feel them leave your body in your outward breath, and with each outward breath, make it 1% deeper and longer than the previous breath. Noticing that the deeper you breathe out, the more that you're exhaling any stress or anxiety. And because you're creating a vacuum, you can then breathe in more of that resourceful feeling of relaxation and tranquility. because the deeper you breathe, the more relaxed you become. You're relaxing those muscles connected with breath. Mouth, nostrils, windpipe, chest, ribcage and lungs all the way down into the diaphragm. And the more they relax, the more effortless, deep breathing becomes, taking you more and more into this realm of blissful tranquility. That's it, just relaxing those muscles around your eyelids, neck and jaw, loosening those muscles. And I want you to use the power of your imagination to imagine going to a safe place, a loving place from your past. I want you to imagine going back in time and imagining a living room with brown sofas, perhaps certain things that you can recognize, maybe unusual furniture, wallpaper, maybe even an old-fashioned television or bookcase. And just breathe in and breathe out. And imagine how you would feel sitting on that brown sofa. Imagine sinking into that brown sofa, feeling so relaxed. And as I count downwards from 5 to 1, I want you to imagine how you would feel if you felt so relaxed on that brown sofa that you drifted off into a dreamlike sleep. 5. All the muscles in your face start to relax. That's it, breathing in, breathing out for even longer. 4, focusing on the muscles in your neck and your shoulders. Just decide to just let go. That's it, feel the release. And then 3, arms feeling limp, loose and heavy. Feeling so relaxed, there's no energy in those arms, so relaxed next to you. Limp, loose and heavy, that's it. And then 2, imagine all of your internal organs at exactly the same time, feeling a wave of tranquility and relaxation. Heart, lungs, stomach, and all the way into your gut, releasing any tension. And all that tension released in your gut releases any anxiety. Just feel it melting away. That's it. And then 1, your legs, like your arms, feeling limp, loose, and heavy. That's it. Just imagine 0 drifting off into a dreamlike sleep. There on that sofa, going deeper, deeper, deeper into a part of your mind capable of updating beliefs, implementing new strategies, and harnessing metaphors to make them empowering for you. And in that dreamlike sleep, imagine you're in the same living room seeing someone just like you fast asleep. In fact, you could shake you just a little bit just to check that you're not going to wake up, that the conscious mind is asleep and your unconscious mind is now there walking towards a kitchen. Because you could imagine soup boiling on a stove. You can hear the simmering, the bubbling of that soup. You can smell a particular flavor of soup wafting towards your nose. I want you to get a sense that the soup represents something important to you. And it's fine so long as the soup doesn't boil over, doesn't overflow the top of the saucepan. But I want you to imagine something happens to make the soup rise. And I want you to imagine perhaps the voice of someone loving, understanding, and caring, telling you things are going to be okay. You'll be fine. Nothing to worry about. You've got this. And as you hear those words in a caring, compassionate, understanding tone of voice, see that the soup starts to simmer down. And then imagine later on it starts to rise again, that soup. And just imagine when you take a deep breath in and a long, slow exhale, it's the equivalent of turning down the heat on that stove. So try that now. Take a deep breath in through your nose. And then a long, slow, deliberate, elongated breath that goes on for much longer than normal breath. And in doing so, feel any tension or anxiety dissipate and relax. Imagine it starts to rise again. And this time, just imagine releasing any tension around your neck, your shoulders, or jaw. And it just feels that not only is the heat going down, but there's less in the pan. No possibility of it overflowing. And then later on, just imagine it rising again. And this time, just imagine your inner dialogue becomes slow, pragmatic, and resourceful. Rather than panicking about everything that can go wrong, imagine an inner dialogue. Resourceful, pragmatic, confident that you'll find a way. And again, notice the flames of the gas cooker going from large to small, and everything simmering down. And if your unconscious mind feels that now it has multiple ways to stop things from overflowing or bubbling over, let me know by nodding your head. That's it. So imagine going back into the living room knowing that the stove is now off, no chance at all of that soup overflowing. Just cooling down the soup to eat it later. You can see yourself in the same living room fast asleep, but the unconscious mind is awake. And imagine having a conversation with someone that could be a new voice that you hear in your mind at any point in the future when you feel anxious. But rather than a sarcastic, unhelpful tone, imagine hearing an encouraging, supportive, reassuring tone, letting you know that you'll be fine. You can handle this. You've got so many ways that you could lower the anxiety. And in doing so, you can feel more resourceful, to feel that whatever life throws your way, you can handle it. And any voices of criticism, sarcasm, or just a lack of belief in you will no longer amplify anxiety. In fact, they will become a new trigger for defiant resourcefulness. And if your unconscious mind is willing to accept that any unhelpful inner dialogue will now create a defiant resourcefulness, let me know by nodding your head. You will accept encouraging, supportive inner dialogue, and anything unhelpful will now cause you to prove that part of you wrong. Continue to breathe in and breathe out, feeling more and more relaxed. Feel a sense of calm wash over you as you acknowledge that any emotions of anxiety are temporary and fleeting, and that you have tools to make them last for less time than they have in the past. You can imagine anxiety as a pot of soup just about to boil over, knowing exactly how to make it simmer down. Or imagine it as a wave that rises and falls, knowing that it will always pass and leave you feeling stronger. Whenever you hear your inner voice of anxiety that is unhelpful and full of doubt, feel an urge to respond with defiance, proving to yourself that you are capable and confident. Accept that you can access a highly resourceful state where confidence and courage come naturally and effortlessly. Feel the empowerment of addressing your anxiety head on. What was limiting before now becomes a source of strength and determination. You know, in other areas of your life, you can be pragmatic, resourceful, capable, and allow those parts of your life to just naturally map across to those areas of your life where you've in the past felt unresourceful and can now feel full of certainty, capability, and just a belief that things will work out fine. Imagine your doubts fueling a powerful desire to be more confident, more resourceful, and more determined than ever before. Because you can feel the relief of knowing that anxiety is always temporary, and you are always just a few deep breaths away from draining away the anxiety completely. Imagine something that in the past caused a chain reaction of anxiety, and imagine going to the very beginning of that chain reaction. But this time imagine taking deep, long outward breaths. Imagine relaxing all of your muscles, and imagine slowing down that inner dialogue, giving yourself a chance to feel either defiant or reassured, And notice that when you do that, you were able to stop that chain reaction from ever happening. You can access a state of calm confidence whenever anxiety arises, knowing that you now have the tools to handle it. As you feel the power of resourceful defiance, turning any doubts or criticisms into fuel for your unstoppable confidence and courage. In fact, imagine a future event, but imagine yourself feeling calm and confident. Imagine that resourceful defiance that you can handle that situation completely fine. In fact, you are looking for opportunities to make a house of cards come tumbling down. That anxiety has a key ingredient of anticipating that you can't cope. And that all disappears when you make the core evaluation that you can. So feel a sense of empowerment as you acknowledge anxiety, but now knowing it only serves to make you either stronger and more defiant or more prepared in those areas that you can control. You will believe that avoidance increases the hold that anxiety has over you, and defiantly doing the thing you think you can't do will weaken any anxiety in your future. Imagine every breath you take dissolving anxiety and feeling like it leaves your body in your outward breath, leaving you feeling peaceful and grounded, and allow your unconscious mind to start to change and adapt any beliefs that have led to this feeling of inevitability. Now believing that something else is inevitable. The inevitability that anxiety is very temporary, and that without constantly given more fuel, anxiety will disappear quickly. The bubbling pot can't overflow when the gas is turned off. And maybe you've been fueling your own anxiety with doubts and assumptions about what will happen in the future. And when you turn down the gas, it can't ever overflow into high panic or intense anxiety. As you now feel the unwavering belief that you can handle any challenge, able to transform anxiety into a catalyst for growth and resilience. So breathe in a deep breath of confidence, reassurance, self-belief. Exhale any remnants of anxiety or worry. And then step into that conscious version of you lying down on a brown sofa in an old room, reconnecting the unconscious with the conscious and taking all of the changes with you. And then allow all parts to return to the present as you take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Just wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes, connect fully with the present moment. As I now count from 1 to 10 to awaken you, you will awaken feeling prepared, defiant, with a deep conviction that things day by day will improve until you witness things that give evidence of a more permanent change. Starting to count 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.
Thank you for listening to The Hypnotist with Adam Cox, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. To automatically receive the latest episodes, please subscribe. If you'd like to support the show, please share this episode with just one friend you think it could help. And if this episode helped you, please leave us a 5-star review.